Hello, and welcome to the second episode of Hopeful Tech. I'm Florin, and joining us from San Francisco is my good friend Ronnie.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. And this week I thought I would start by talking about Tesla. So being in San Francisco, I see Teslas everywhere because they're basically from the Bay Area. Their manufacturing offices are actually located across the bay in Fremont. So I'm exposed to them quite a bit. And as you all know, they started off with the Roadster, a two-seater before, and now they have the flagship product is the Model S, which is it's a five-seater sedan, and it's all electric, and it has basically, it feels like a normal car. That was the whole point behind Tesla making this car. So right now, recently they just announced the P85D, which has it's a dual-wheel drive, and it's supposed to be super fast. So that's what we have right now, and Tesla is actually trying to include self-driving technology in all their cars from now onwards. So basically, any car you buy today has all the hardware for self-driving built in.
Yeah, it's amazing that they're doing that, and it's gonna come live with a software update, from what I understand, right?
Yes, it is over the air, and then you wake up one morning and hey, your car is self-driving ready. That's how it's gonna work. It's pretty amazing, and they are saying that all the future models from here on out will actually come with the hardware, self-driving hardware ready, which is basically a bunch of radars, around the car. And yeah, so they are announcing the next model will be the Model X, which is like an SUV style car, and it has these doors that open like wings up.
You can never go wrong with that, right?
Yeah, hopefully, I was thinking, how are you going to park that thing and open doors all the way up? I mean, I don't know, it just seems a little unwieldy. But anyway, that's what they have announced. They haven't really, I mean, it's not sold yet. Everyone's waiting on, hey, when can I get my hands on one? But that's what they've announced now. And the next impending announcement is the Model 3, which is supposed to be a cheap version of the car. And by cheap, we mean the starting point of $3,500, which is not too bad.
I think you mean 35,000.
Sorry. Yes. Let me correct that. $35,000, which is the price of maybe a BMW, like a low-end BMW or something like that. And that's what's they're planning on announcing that next year. What I'm not sure if it will actually really have the self-driving hardware, because for that price and self-driving hardware, that's pretty crazy if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm curious what price Google wants to make for their tiny cars, but I guess for a car like that, it's definite.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things, Elon Musk, the CEO, he's a great guy. He said that the car will look nothing like a sedan on the street nowadays. So he's certainly building up some hype. So yeah, that remains to be seen.
Hopefully, by looking nothing like a sedan, they won't mean something tiny and pod-like. Though he might mean that.
I mean, let's be frank, right? That's probably the most space-efficient design.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, space efficient for the roads, but yeah, I would like a proper car with space in the trunk, or in Tesla's case, or in the Model S case, storage in the front of the car because there's no engine there. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited to see how how that goes, and with that we have a lot of other competitors coming up. BMW has their own electric car that you see on the streets already nowadays, but not as many people are driving it yet. Another manufacturer is Fiat. Actually, one of my colleagues has a Fiat. It's fully electric, but on full charge, it only goes 90 miles. So it's more of a commuting car than a car you used to drive around,
Yeah, that's the thing, with the range. I actually read what the infrastructure is like for Tesla's cars. Apparently, when you buy the car, you have included top ups from their service stations as long as you can find one, right?
Yes, exactly. And so what the deal is with that is, so you have the superchargers, the Tesla superchargers. These are stations that are, fitted with, the stuff that you need to charge your car really fast, right? And they're talking about like about an hour or so. And all these are free to use for all Tesla owners forever, is what they say. And but still, there was always an issue of, hey, on a full charge I can go maybe about what 300 miles or so it was. And what if I run out and I cannot find a station? What then? So basically what Elon Musk did, he announced in the last update, he called it the we're going to end range anxiety. So basically now the software in the car does a really good job of telling you when when your when your power is running out, and it'll actually tell you to go to the nearest supercharging station. And then when you plan your entire trip, it will actually route it so that there is a supercharging station throughout the way, in such a way that you never run out. And he basically, they're saying you really have to try really hard to run out of power.
So basically, they want to use the superchargers as waypoints, right, on your trip.
Yes. Superchargers, they have to be somewhere within the trip. So basically, it's all calculated, right? It's all numbers.
That's interesting, but I just find the one aspect of this troubling. I mean, okay, superchargers are nice, but like you and me, we live in apartments. It's a big issue to have an electric car to live in an apartment, because where are you going to charge it? I mean, really, the easiest way is to just leave it overnight. But if you live in an apartment, you can't do that. I don't see anybody fixing it.
And that's a really valid concern. And someone like me, I cannot buy a Tesla now. I practically cannot, because my landlord won't allow me to retrofit a charger in the garage, for sure, right? And that's only a problem. And I've talked to a few other people who are who have Teslas, and they don't have charging stations at their charging capabilities in their garages. And what some of the people I've talked to, they just say, oh, I just charge it at my work. While I'm working, I just leave it charged there, and then I drive back home, and then I just go back to work.
So you mean to say that there are chargers in the parking lot?
Oh, yeah. So most big companies now have chargers in the parking lots. My company now has electric car chargers in parking lots, and the state of California is actually giving a lot of these companies some bonuses for having these charging stations in parking lots.
But I wonder, it being, I don't know, I mean, I guess it's a guarded parking lot, but it's probably quite a bit public. What would stop someone from just, unplugging you and you wouldn't know until 5 hours later?
Well, for sure. Someone could certainly do that, but, there are like rules to etiquette, right? So a lot of these charging stations, when you plug it into your car, they have an indicator, right, saying, hey, right now the car is still charging. So it'll be blinking red, for example. And when it's done, it'll be green, solid green. And then someone else can unplug it from your car and plug it into their own car. But obviously, people want to be nice about it and not plug it, take out the plug unplug it before your car is done charging.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of like a passing by kid or something. It's like pushing all the buttons on the elevator. I mean, it's,
no. I mean, it's a problem, but you just hope that doesn't happen. That's how it is right now. I mean, there's certainly no locking mechanism, right? It's not like, oh, hey, you need a key to remove the charger. It's just a matter of pressing a latch and moving it. So
yeah, maybe that would be a solution, a locking mechanism. Whereas you set up your charger, you lock it into your car, and then when you're done, you remove it. So that, because again, you also mentioned a case in which, okay, etiquette aside, maybe somebody just needs a quick charge and they unplug you just to plug it into their car. There should be a way to stop that.
It's totally possible, and I'm sure it's been done before. But so when I'm talking about like in company parking lots, for example, in the Silicon Valley, right? It's just mostly employees in the building, and you can expect them to be better behaved. But yes, in case of public parking lots, I'm sure that's an issue that that happens. But it's just, I guess, not enough people have electric cars at this point for it to be a big issue yet. But down the line, for sure.
I think it would be nice if they did something, not necessarily wireless charging through the bottom of the car, but something that you could sort of extend from the bottom of your car to let's say some kind of plug on the ground, so that short of moving your car, nobody could actually use your charger.
Yeah, that's one way. I guess that's one way they can do that, but then I guess that underneath your car is kind of a sensitive area, so they don't want people. Well, I mean, I don't see why not, but it just feels more natural to walk up to like
Yeah,
a
it's like a
station,
gas station.
right? Yeah, but actually, speaking of underneath the car, Tesla actually has they announced this a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure if they're still doing it because I haven't heard about this in a while. They had this that is program where if you have a Tesla, you could because now even now, right, if you go to a supercharging station, it takes a good like at least 45 minutes to get a good amount of charge, right? And they wanted to reduce this time to be as good as going up to a gas station and filling your tank up. That takes what maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes
Yeah,
less.
I guess they want to find some way to really juice even more electricity, because right now, from what I understand, even the process that takes an hour is juicing a huge amount of electricity for that cable. I mean, it's
So they
crazy.
actually had a solution for this, which they announced and demonstrated, but I'm not sure if they ever executed it because I haven't heard much of this, and there were some potential problems I heard since then. But basically, what would happen is you drive up your car to this special station that Tesla designed. What it'll do is there's a machine underneath your car that actually removes the battery, the entire battery pack, and replaces it with one that's already within the structure underneath.
Yeah, that would probably be the only quick way with today's technology, just replacing your battery pack. I also saw this interesting little scooter company that wanted to. I mean, they only really wanted to use this in places like Bangkok, for example. I mean, a very high density scooter filled place where you had an electric scooter.
Like a kick scooter or a motorbike scooter.
No, motorbike scooter.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so basically you had the battery pack somehow in a nice, friendly modular bay in your scooter, so that they had a whole bunch of maybe gas station related charging points. All you had to do was just you quickly remove your battery pack, you just take it out of your hand, put it there, pick up a new one, and you're done. I mean, this was much more feasible with something the size of a scooter because you could just quickly, pick up like a 5 kilo battery pack or something and stick it in there. So I think that's the only way that you can really, get it done like that.
Yeah, but some of the issues people were raising with that was, what if you get a bad battery? What if like you don't want a bad battery in your car? That was one of the issues people were having, and there were a few more, more technical issues. But the overall thing is, I'm not sure how far Tesla went to do that. They're focusing more on the supercharger, efforts, right? And I mean, realistically speaking, a lot of people won't let their car run out of juice all the way before they go to a supercharger, right? So let's say if your car is half empty and then you go to a supercharger, then it's going to take about 20-30 minutes to fill it up, and that's not too bad.
True, you can have a snack or something, right? I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
what they're counting on.
Yeah, so I mean, that's how they design them, right? They have a supercharger next to a restaurant, or like in Bangkok we have the motorway, and then we have a little rest area, on parts of the motorway. So that's kind of what that is what they're going to go for. But I guess that's still the biggest hurdle, right, for electric cars, is having enough charging stations.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, I mean, no matter how well you plan things, I think it happens to all of us that, for example, your phone runs out of juice, right? I mean, no matter how much you plan to charge it during the day or whatever, just life gets in the way, and you don't end up doing that. And with a car, that really complicates your life significantly if you somehow forget.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure they've improved battery technologies enough already, but there was a point where if you run out of juice completely for your car's battery, you'll have to replace that battery pack entirely, because the battery pack becomes damaged once you run completely out of juice, like 0%.
Well, it's good that we progress from that.
Yeah. So anyway, that was still an issue, but anyway. So yeah, that's what's up with Tesla in general, and I'm pretty excited to see how they progress.
What I find interesting is that Tesla is really a champion of introducing more technology into cars because they've famously been a very low-tech area for so long, you know. And speaking of that, I've been looking into low tech. I mean, you know, just think about the sort of technology that's in your typical computer or smartphone compared to the sort of technology that's in your typical Toyota. You know, I mean, it's
Right. Yes. Yes. Okay. I get what you mean now.
yeah, so I'm thinking, you know, of Android Auto and CarPlay. It's they're really trying to introduce some more of your daily technology into the car, and I think, you know, that is a really cool initiative, and I think people will definitely not want any car that doesn't have this in the future. Because if you think about it, you're so connected during your day to, you know, all your chat sessions and you know, playlists. Like for example, most people I know right now, they just don't even listen to music that is stored on a device anymore, right? So you want to have support in the car for something like, you know, Spotify or Google Play Music or iTunes. And it's interesting now that they finally launched, you know, the aftermarket solutions for cars, right? I saw a Pioneer unit that unfortunately it's you know, the cheapest option they have is $750, which is I think pretty steep for something like this. And they're still at a very basic level, I feel, because for example, right now the only things that Android Auto seems to be capable to do is just mirror some of your content in a car-friendly way, you know, like big buttons and voice input and all that sort of things. And I find it amazing that even okay, it's a 1.0 version, but even now they don't have support for, you know, the data port from cars. I mean,
Right. I think that will be the next thing, right? Because
yeah,
like, I mean, you would like all the, you know, all these you know, be it Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you want all of them to actually integrate everything into one solution, right? Because think about it now. Let's say you drive a car with, you know, and you share the car with, you know, your girlfriend or you know, anyone, and then or if you go to a rental, right? You have to do a lot of things. You have to like adjust the seat and, you know, do the mirrors, and then, you know, of course you have to, you know, fiddle around with the radio. I think the ultimate idea with these kinds of technologies is that they will integrate with the car at a very, you know, low level, at, you know, like a data port, and, you know, have everything just customized according to your software, so you don't have to do a whole lot.
yeah, personalized profile for the whole car would be fantastic. I mean, I'm also thinking in terms of taxis, you know, because I don't know how it is in San Francisco, but both here and other cities, we have like 90% of taxis are one model of car, you know. So I think it would be pretty cool if they develop something whereas, you know, you just got into a cab and you had the seat exactly the way you wanted because, you know, it would be easy to make a profile for that car.
Right, and yeah. So over here we have, you know, different kinds of models, and I can see that being good actually. So as a baby step version of that, Uber has this thing where, you know, when you call an Uber, it's called Uber Spotify. So basically, Uber integrates with your Spotify account, and then you can choose what music you want to hear when you're, you know, driving as a passenger in an Uber.
Yeah, it's a really awesome option they have, but it's kind of weird that they partnered with someone like Spotify because, I mean, I understand probably there's some money involved, but it doesn't exist in many countries. I mean, I'd love to use it here, but we don't have it here. So they should use something besides Spotify. I mean, you know, sort of expand this to something a lot more universal, like iTunes or Google Play Music. I mean, then it would be something that because you know, from what I understand, the driver has to have a Spotify account too, right?
I'm not sure about the driver. I'm not sure who the. I would assume so. Yes, or maybe the Spotify on the driver. He must have Spotify, but maybe there's a special Uber account. I'm not sure how that works, but he should. He definitely has to have it plugged in. But to, you know, to that point, I still think Spotify is the largest of all streaming services. I don't think iTunes goes as far as, because even for iTunes, right, the store, the streaming stuff they have is still limited based on countries. Whereas Spotify, I think, has the largest outreach.
True, but it's still in mostly the western part of the world. I mean, does it exist in Thailand? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But even iTunes is not, right? So I guess that's an area for streaming services to. That's something they're still working on, right? Like universal access.
True, and I mean, the way I figure it, they should just not limit themselves to one service. I mean, I'm not saying that they should choose a specific service that has the most outreach, but just if they could give you an option of several services, then I'm sure they could basically cover everybody somehow.
True. I mean, there are issues with simplification, right? Like if you have so many, then your software becomes complicated too,
True,
and they
true.
probably want to like keep it simple, right? So, yeah, I mean, ideally, what I would like is, well, I'm not sure if it's ideal, but if Uber could just handle the streaming, I can pick music from my own phone and play that. That would be pretty simple.
So you mean sort of a Wi-Fi connection between you and the car, right?
Right. Or even streaming. Maybe my phone streams my music over to Uber, and Uber streams it back to the driver's phone, and which plays the music.
Yeah, that would be quite something, the car-based music sharing service.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Actually, that's a fun startup idea. Huh?
True. Okay. So from what I've mostly explored Android Auto in terms of this sort of stuff. What can you tell me about CarPlay?
Well, so what I know about CarPlay is it's still in its infancy, right? And basically, what it is CarPlay in the car is basically a screen that's kind of like a dumb terminal. You plug your phone in, your phone is the brains, right? But now, instead of displaying on its own screen, it's now displaying on the screen in the car. And the output of the display is supposed to be more car friendly, more more convenient, and it's also designed to be very hands free and eyes free. So they have Siri integration, where Siri will read out and listen to read out your messages and do speech to text for you.
That sounds very similar to what Google is doing so far.
Yeah. So they have a lot of things are like that. And it's just they have and the features are a bit limited. Of course, they have Apple Maps, which isn't that great, but I think still the largest problem they're having is adoption. Not many cars have it yet, and one of the bigger issues the car industry is having now is a lot of people want to wait for Android Auto and CarPlay enabled cars before they buy, right? Because that's something it's a great feature, but they're having issues with and you probably have more to say about the Android part, but a lot of car manufacturers now just want to have a dual system in their car instead of just picking one or the other. They want to have both CarPlay and Android Auto, and that's apparently causing delays.
Well, the weird thing is I don't understand what's taking so long and why it's so expensive, because if you think about it, as you said, it's a dumb terminal. I mean, it does nothing without your phone. So if it does nothing without your phone, then, compared to buying an LCD screen that'll just display whatever you have plugged into it, I don't know how much this offers extra, because from what I mean, it's an app on your phone, right? So why can't it just be, simpler? It doesn't interact with the car in any way, from what I understand. Besides
I think a lot of it is bureaucracy, right? A lot of these car companies, as as Tesla is actually showing them to be, they are very, they're very still, old business minded, right? And I'm sure it's a lot of that's causing issues. And, cars want to make sure, like, if people are going to use, services like this, if it doesn't work well, the car companies kind of have a liability on their side, even though they are even though Apple and Google are the ones writing the software. If it doesn't work well, people might blame the car companies.
So they're thinking along lines of, you're mashing some buttons into or screaming some instructions to Siri and you crash, right?
Yeah, something like that. And I guess that's but I'm also sure it's all red tape and bureaucracy that's causing the delay. Again, I don't know why it's taking so long, but maybe they are also looking into integrating, because I think at some level it probably does tap into the car's innards, right? Like I know some models of Garmin for some electric cars actually did, it's just not just a dumb terminal, but it actually interfaces with the car, so you can get like speedometer information,
Yeah,
other.
that's a lot more interesting. But from what I see, neither Apple nor Google does this.
Yeah, I'm not sure about what Apple. Yeah, I have to look more into that to be frank. But yeah, I know that for the Fiats, for example, one of my colleagues has it, and it comes with a Garmin device that actually interfaces with the car's hardware. So I'm not sure if they're waiting for that. I'm not sure what it is, but it's certainly annoying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, the future looks bright for this sort of tech, and really, I think everybody wants, one of the last bastions of, old school technology thinking to be invaded by our, app-based world, and here's to hoping that it happens without any incidents.
Well, we know that won't be the case, right?
Well, with as few incidents as possible, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Because I was actually reading an article on a car blog a while ago about how after Google announced their accident stats for their self-driving cars, they're sort of up in arms like, ooh, compared to the number of cars Google actually has on the roads, it's such a high accident rate. But I mean, it's ridiculous, given what they're trying to do. I think it's a very low rate.
It's phenomenal. No, it's phenomenal, right? And they have basically proven that machines are safer than humans. And you don't need like a million hours of driving to kind of understand that, right? I mean, machines can see the road 360 degrees at all times with no impairment. So and obviously they've shown that it can do that. So I don't understand people's fear. It's just just technophobia.
Yeah, and they even have this funny bit about machine decision making. Like let's say if if you're about to plow into a car with like four people and you're one person in your car, then will the machine decide that it should save them instead of you? I mean,
yeah, no, there will be all kinds of philosophical questions that come out. Like oh hey, if there's an accident situation where the machine has to decide, hey, should I kill this man or this child? Right, there are all kinds of questions like that. But hey, guess what? If in the end, ultimately, machines will be better than humans, no matter what. But then, when you have these questions, I think while they are, they're valid concerns, but we cannot let them stop us from making this happen, because humans are worse off in driving.
True. And if you think about it, it's not really. I mean, they're considered safe enough to be sent, into war zones, and I mean, the freeway is much. If you think about it, it's a much less hazardous scenario where you send these things. I mean, we already trust them to fly planes and whatnot. So why not this? I mean.
No, and I completely agree. And a lot of people, one of the critics from people is that Google has been testing these cars in Mountain View, right? That's where if you go to Mountain View, chances are you'll see a Google car driving around, right? Now, people say one of the reasons it is so successful, it's so good at doing this, is because Google has actually created like a track of entire city of Mountain View. And the cars are basically running along this track that they've built, like a logical track, right? A virtual track. And if you put this car in a different city, which doesn't have like a road track yet, the car wouldn't work very well, right? But I don't think that's a big issue, because one, Google has Google Maps, which has information about all the streets in the entire world, practically. So I don't see why they cannot turn that into a track for the car. So
true, and I think they can work something out. Whereas, let's say you buy a Google car in your city, and you get licensed to have it autonomous in your city, and then as soon as you breach the city limits, let's say you're going to a place where they don't have the track, then you're forced to actually drive your car. So I think that would be a reasonable balance between not yet mapping the entire world with like all the complicated waypoints that they probably have in the Mountain View situation.
That's not a good solution, yeah. But I still think Google, I still believe that Google can ultimately make this car run without having a track built around the streets.
Yeah, it might require the sort of effort that went into making Street View, basically having something, go throughout the whole world and properly do this as well. I mean, if they were able to do Street View, which is, if you think about it, an amazing effort for all of humankind,
No,
they should be able to do this.
guess what? Apple's working on Street View now.
Yeah, yeah, I heard, but it's a physical issue. I mean, it takes ages, no matter how you try to do it. That's why I was reading that these days the biggest obstacle to any new entrant to the whole smartphone, smart devices scene is maps. Because no matter how well you build an operating system, you haven't had that car go in all the country roads of every country in the
No,
world.
it's not an easy task, and for anyone to think they can beat Google, I think they're just taking a big task, and unfortunately Apple already went in there, and I'm sure they don't want to back out. Oh, and guess what I found resides near my workplace, just like less than a block down, all the Apple cars. Yeah, we were driving around and we saw one and we tried to track one down, and we were following it, and then we saw where it went to park, and then obviously they shut the gates down and all, and on my way home I passed that area and I look back and I see all these cars with blue tops on top of the car covering all the sensors. So now I know where they are.
Nice. Are they are, I think, SUV form?
Yeah, they're all SUV, like minivans,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
They have they're like any other minivans, and they have these sensors on top. So if, in the beginning, a lot of people were thinking, oh, hey, Apple's gonna make their own self-driving car. We don't know if they're doing that, but the latest rumors are no, they are actually doing a Street View like thing. But not only Street View, they are going for like a virtual reality thing, like a 3D thing. Yeah, so I'm not sure. That remains to be seen. But yeah, so.
So they're gonna map the whole world to make PlayStation home, huh? Okay.
That's a funny one, right? And I guess that's also like a little blow on Apple because PlayStation Home failed.
Yeah, I think we want more virtual things in our real life, not to sort of immerse ourselves into something that doesn't exist. I mean,
yeah, totally. So yeah, that's what's going on. I guess this episode was all about electric cars and
yeah.
and street mapping.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of exciting stuff being done in this arena, and I think it impacts our lives in a meaningful way.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the next big hurdle we have to cross over, right? It's like we need to stop relying on fuel, like gas fuel, so much. So and I'm pretty excited, and I'm really glad that Elon Musk and Tesla are the ones leading this, because they seem to be like they generally seem to be very doing this for just the good of everybody. It seems like what's the word, very altruistic almost, because Tesla is open to they're not against competitors, and they are open to partnering with other car companies like they have at BMW. And for a lot of the things they're doing, it's all open. Like they're open sourced a lot of things that they're working on. So it's nice to like that, take lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's a good business idea, I think, to basically expand the market and still try to be the best in that market, and then everybody wins.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, if it was some other company, I'm not sure how good. So what I'm saying is this should help us, go forward faster than any other way.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I can't wait for when cheap cars like this start to appear, because definitely there will be a lot of, I think, Chinese and Indian companies getting in on at least small cars that can.
Oh yeah, for sure. It only makes sense. I'm sure Tata has a lot of small cheap cars in India, and nothing is stopping them from looking at all the patents that Tesla released to design one.
I think what they're mostly afraid of right now is that until the technology becomes more reliable for someone like Tesla, then I think someone like Tata is worried that it would be very bad for business if they say, they make a small car with maybe not as good quality of a battery, because it's got to be cheaper, and then let's say the battery catches fire and it becomes a huge PR blow for Tata. So I guess they want to make things they want to wait it out a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sure that a lot of testing has to go. Has to be done for all that stuff. But I see it happening, especially with all the patents out. It's not stopping anyone from doing anything.
Yeah.
So I would say the cat is out of the bag, and this is happening. It's just a matter of when it's going to be all done.
Well, speaking of when, I think we overran our runtime for quite a bit now.
Yeah, we did.
So thank you for listening. If you want to check this out, and we'll be back next week with some further discussions. So
For sure.
Have a good one, and see ya.
Enjoy.